Jack Jennings is president of the Center on Education Policy in Washington, D.C. The Center promotes school improvement through various publications by assisting states and school districts and by arranging national meetings and conferences. From 1967 through 94, as a staff member, chief counsel of this committee, Mr. Jennings was deeply involved in virtually every major national educational debate. I learned the word disaggregated data from Mr. Jennings at that time.
Thank you, Chairman Kildee and Congressman Castle and other members of the committee. I spent nearly half my life in this room or around this room or with the committee, and so I feel like I'm coming home. But they say you can never come home, but at least for this afternoon I will be home. And I think I'll be home once I hear the questions coming from all different directions. Then I'll know. But I'm accompanied by Diane Stark-Retner, who's sitting behind me. She is the deputy at the Center on Education Policy, and she worked for the committee for 6 years. And then behind me on the other side is Nancy Kober, who worked for the committee for 12 years, and she's the principal consultant for us. And in the middle is Sonny Becker, who's with the Human Resources Company Corporation, UHUMRO, that was our contractor on this project. I know you have strict time restraints, so let me just shortly summarize our report. First of all, the Center on Education Policy is an independent body. We get all our money from charitable foundations. We have no connection with the government, no connection with any other organization, any teachers group, any business group, any other organization. We're totally independent. And we have been reviewing No Child Left Behind since 2002. But 2 years ago, we decided that the key questions involved with No Child Left Behind were two. One was, has student achievement in reading and math increased since No Child Left Behind was enacted? And secondly, have achievement gaps between different subgroups of students narrowed since No Child Left Behind was enacted? Those are the key questions. And sometimes, too often, we spend time on mechanisms such as how many children are getting tutoring, how many children are getting school choice, without looking at the fundamental purposes. So we decided to design a study that would answer these questions, and we have 5 unique features in our study. First of all, we asked all states to participate, and every state participated, and every state verified their data. So we know that this is correct data. Secondly, we only use comparable test results from year to year. If a state changes tests, we would not use the test results. These have to be comparable results. Thirdly, we used pre- and post-NCLB test scores so that we could go as far back as we could to see the effects of the legislation. Fourthly, we use 2 different types of statistical analysis. One is looking at proficiency scores, the other is looking at net effect scores. And one analysis makes up for the deficiencies of the other so that you get a more complete picture. And lastly, we use consistent rules in looking at the data across all states. Another unique feature was that we ensured that we had a group of experts that was balanced. So we have 5 experts. Several of them have written articles and books against No Child Left Behind. Several of them have supported No Child Left Behind. In fact, one of them heads up one of the administration's committees dealing with No Child Left Behind. This group is not only varied in its point of view, but it also has great expertise in terms of assessment, research, and policy, and they were of great assistance to us. The 5 major conclusions we reached are these. First, in most states with 3 or more years of comparable test data, student achievement in reading and math has gone up since 2002. Secondly, there is more evidence of achievement gaps between groups of students narrowing since 2002 than of gaps widening. Still, the magnitude of the gaps is very substantial. It's common to have gaps of 25–30% between different groups of students. Thirdly, we could only get comparable data from 13 states going back to 1999, but 9 of those states showed that they had greater increases in test scores after 2002 rather than before 2002. Fourthly, and this is a very important point, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to determine to the extent to which these trends in test results have occurred because of No Child Left Behind. Since 2002, states, school districts, and schools have simultaneously implemented many different but interconnected policies to raise achievement. In other words, we cannot show direct causality between increased test scores and No Child Left Behind because everything else has been going on all the other things have been going on at the same time. Fifthly, although NCLB is premised on the idea that there should be public information and there should be test score data available to policymakers, the press, and the public so they'll understand the effectiveness of education, we found gaps and holes in terms of the information that was available, and it took us a considerable effort in order to obtain this information. As cooperative as the states were, they're very overburdened, they're very pressed for personnel and time, and it's difficult for them to keep up. Now, let me mention what we think the possible explanations are for these increased test trends. And these are 4 possible reasons, and we cannot attribute direct causality in whatever proportion to any of these reasons, but these are the logical reasons. 1, in fact, students have increased learning. That sounds so obvious, but in today's cynical environment, you have to say, well, students may know more, and that is probably a major factor. Secondly, there is teaching to the test, especially in the poorest school districts, the schools with the largest percentages of children of color, there is teaching to the test. Thirdly, there are subtle changes made in tests that make it easier to have gangs. And lastly, there's changes in populations tested. I will finish by just asking that you consider the data that's required from the states for No Child Left Behind. And we have a recommendation on page 81 of the report. I hope you rip that page out and put it into the law. The public deserves to know test data. They deserve to know as much information as they can about the schools, and you can help to ensure that by enacting those provisions. Thank you.